An entire NBA career played in just 10 seconds, going endless games without a single W. These are the most embarrassing records in NBA history. Now, most people would think that any player good enough to be a professional athlete and make the NBA could sink a little free throw. It's only 15 feet away from the hoop, but that's not the case for all NBA players. And none of all the free throw brickers in NBA history were as bad as former Detroit Pistons power forward Ben Wallace. Now, this dude helped the Pistons to the NBA championship title in 2004 and was a defensive force for their team. Won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, most rebounds in the league several times, and led the league in blocks as well. So you know dude could ball on the defensive side. But on offense, it was ghastly, and free throws made him look like a 6-year-old at the rec center. Over the 17 years of his career, Ben Wallace shot 2,679 free throws and made just 1,109 of them. Do the math, and that's a 41.4% free throw conversion rate. Dang, that's pretty low for a shot with no resistance and no one blocking you, man. I mean, it's just between you and the bucket. Wallace's best free throw shooting season ever in terms of percentage was 03-04, and he was feeling spicy from the free throw line, greening just 49% of his shots. You know what's crazy? Even if he has managed to average just 49% throughout his career, he'd still make the top 5 all-time worst free throw shooter, and that was his best season. And it didn't have to do with what team he played for, his jersey number, or some sentimental crap. Wallace played for Washington, Chicago, Orlando, and Cleveland, and shot free throws at the same brick rate. He was even worse than Shaquille O'Neal, man. And it makes me think maybe it was something psychological, you know? Ben Wallace couldn't take advantage of getting fouled, but this next player was all about giving away fouls. 2 NBA MVP awards, 14 All-Star selections, and ranking 3rd on the all-time scoring list definitely means he was doing a lot of right things on the court. But when it came to keeping his game clean, Karl Malone was a dip bowl after Monday Night Football. Dude was a dirty player. He's the leader in all-time technical fouls in NBA history with 332 techs in his 20 years in the league. And he gave these fouls away in every way possible, constantly giving free throws to the other team. From complaining to trash talking to recklessly elbowing opponents, the mailman was one of those dudes who would leave you sore after the game. And they don't have players like that in the NBA anymore, man. Not like the mailman was. He was really out there trying to injure people. And I know, he played in the era when the NBA was really physical, but Malone always took things up a notch, man. Like in December 1991, when he elbowed Detroit Pistons star Isaiah Thomas and literally split his head open to the point where he needed 40+ stitches. Or 1998, when David Robinson was on the receiving end of another brutal elbow of justice from the Utah Jazz legend. Malone was a menace out there on the court. His 332 techs are just 3 ahead of second place Charles Barkley and 15 ahead of Rasheed Wallace, who holds the record for most single-season technical fouls with 44 techs in 80 games in the 2000-2001 season. And when it comes to techs, no one seemed to relish them more than Rasheed Wallace. No wonder he holds the record for career ejections with 29, and even led the NBA in all but 3 years between 1999 and 2010. Everyone got to know just how nasty a baller Sheed was, though. But we'll never quite know what type of baller the next dude could have been. Why? Because my dude never even got a chance on the court. And that's because he holds the record for least amount of playing time ever. The name? Jayson Curry. And no, he's not related to Stephen. The team, Los Angeles Clippers, because of course it was a Clippers player. The playing time, 4 seconds. And no, that's not how long he got to play for the Clippers. That's the length of his entire NBA career. Dang, man, imagine getting all the way to the NBA just to only play for 4 seconds. Now, Jameson was a top high school prospect for North Carolina, and he was a menace in high school as he broke MJ's high school state scoring record, but unfortunately, he got into trouble with the law. Fast forward to the 2007 draft, and the Chicago Bulls drafted him with the 51st pick and sent him to the Development League. Now known as the G League, back then it was the D League. And in the D League in 07, he was not getting paid like you are in the G League today. I'm talking these guys were making 10, 20K for a whole season. Less than if you even worked at McDonald's. So this dude Jameson had to play in France, Italy, Venezuela, and even Cyprus to get the bag up before coming back to the D League and getting a chance to play for the LA Clippers after getting traded, and finally making his NBA debut. It was January 2010, 3 days after he signed with the Clippers and the TD Garden in Boston. The Clippers head coach at the time, Mike Dunleavy, brought him in for the last 3.9 seconds of the loss against Boston. Dude got a taste of NBA action in garbage time, and then the game was over, and that was it. The following day, he was let go of to make room for new signing Bobby Brown. My dude didn't even get a chance to show his game, and honestly, that story made me sadder than the Titanic. He worked so hard, and he didn't stop working after that. Curry tried getting back into the league again through the D-League before getting arrested another time, and then after that ending up in a near-death accident that left him with a severe back and rib injuries that ended his playing career. And just like that, his hoop career was gone in the blink of an eye, just like his NBA total playing time. And man, at first it was funny talking about how little playing time he got now, but now it's kind of sad, bro. But you can laugh at this next one. The worst three-point percentage of all time. Now, three-pointers aren't easy. At least not as easy as Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, and the 12-year-olds who cook me at the Y every Saturday make them look. But Charles Barkley may have the opposite problem. This donut-loving commentator made them look hard back in the day. And he wasn't shy in pulling them either, even though he wasn't making a very high percentage. Don't let anything he says on TNT fool you. During his playing days, Charles Barkley was absolutely terrible with three-pointers. Over his 15 seasons in the league, he had just 2 seasons where he shot better than 30% from 3. And by the end of his career, the round mound of rebound had a career three-point percentage of 26.6%. Dang, that's the worst three-point percentage by volume in NBA history. Damn, that was my average test score in high school. That doesn't take anything away from how great a power forward Barkley was. Nah, he's definitely up there with the best to play that position. It even makes it more shocking and embarrassing that his three-point shooting is so bad because he once lost a three-point shooting contest to Shaquille O'Neal on Inside the NBA. Mind you, Shaq couldn't even make free throws, let alone three-pointers in his days, but he still beat Barkley when they shot it. His worst game ever was back during his Rockets days on December 1996 when Chuck really was chucking, shooting 2 of 11 from 3. And this is one record that might never get broken. And you know why? Because not only does Barkley have the lowest three-point percentage, but he also has the most attempts for any player with three-point percentage below 30% at 2,023s. This dude was bricking shots for fun and still trying more and still bricking more. He was the worst shooter and also the most overconfident. We call that efficient inefficiency, folks. But hey, Chuck had the will to keep on trying, and I admire that. Whether it's his three-point shot percentage or a pile of Krispy Kremes, Chuck always gets to the bottom of it. And this isn't the only time we've seen an NBA player get so consistent at missing that he broke a record with it. Alright, so this one is as funny as it is embarrassing. Because how in 7 heavens does a professional basketball player in the NBA miss 35 shots in a row? I mean, these are dudes that work out 3-4 times a day, and sometimes they won't even finish their workout till they make a certain amount of shots in a row. And you're telling me this guy missed 35? Oh for 35, man, that's like when I try to talk to a woman at the club. Charlotte Bobcats' Kevin Burleson held this rather unfortunate record for the 2005-2006 season. Now, KB was a bench player, starting just one of his 39 active games. And the Charlotte Bobcats were not exactly lighting the league up, perennially being one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. Burleson ended the season with an average of 8 minutes and 42 seconds of PT per game and 2.3 shots per game, bringing his total shot attempts to 88. But what's crazy is, like I said, he missed 35 in a row. So out of 88, 35 in a row he didn't make to start off. If we assume Burleson's true field goal percentage is the league average of 45%, the odds of him consecutively missing 35 shots out of 88 is 1 out of 22,641,000. And to make it even worse for KB, my dude doesn't even shoot a lot. So my dude had to spread the historic 0-for streak to over 18 games. Dude didn't just have a couple of bad nights, a couple smoked layups, a couple brick shots. Nah, my dude contributed 0 points for 18 straight nights. Can you imagine being bro's teammate? And starting from January 14th till March 21st, Burleson appeared for 18 out of the Bobcats' 32 games and missed all the shots he attempted. He even missed 6 layups in a row at one point. Dang, bro. But if he was feeling bad for himself, the fact that they kept playing him with a percentage that low is really a compliment. But having records like that are an embarrassment to the game of basketball isn't always done solo dolo. Like the game itself, some failures are accomplished by a team. So let's turn the clock back to the end of the 2009-2010 season. For every LeBron, Cleveland, and Miami Heat fan, it was the year of the decision. Coming off his second MVP season, LeBron announced on live TV that he had decided to leave his hometown team for Miami. The Cavaliers must have known they had a tough season coming, because not only did they lose LeBron, but they also lost former NBA Coach of the Year Mike Brown and their general manager Danny Ferry. Sure, they lost a couple of important persons, but they didn't expect Expect what happened when the 2010-2011 season started. The Cavs went from 61 wins with LeBron in 2009-2010 to a conference worst 19 wins in 2010-2011. This became the biggest single season drop in NBA history. From 61 wins to 63 losses. Man, the LeBron effect is real, man. But that's not even the record we're here to talk about. Of the 63 losses that season, the Cavaliers had a 26-game losing streak. Now that is a record to behold. They started their downward spiral in December of 2010 and didn't see a dub again until February of 2011. And this L streak wasn't just the longest losing streak in NBA history, but it was the longest single consecutive game losing streak in professional American team sports history, transcending all sports of suckitude. Must really suck to be down in Ohio, swag like Ohio. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say the league was creating some kind of advertisement for LeBron, because it looks like Cleveland witch hunt. I should mention that just a couple of years after, in the 2013-2014 season, the Philadelphia Sixers equaled that record with their own 26-game losing streak during the process era. And you know what they say, it's lonely at the top, or should I say the bottom in this case. I just prefer to stay in the middle, you know, average, like my girlfriend always says I am. Anyways, the Sixers and the Cavaliers aren't the only teams that were so down bad that they broke futility records. Let's check this other one out. Now, the playoffs are supposed to be the best in the league facing off against the best in the league. But we know it doesn't always work out like that. Injuries happen, and we also see players choke and perform way worse than normal on the biggest stage. But the 2009 New Orleans Hornets team wasn't near the best, at least not in Game 5 against the Denver Nuggets. In fact, they put up the worst ever performance seen in a playoff series when they lost Game 5 of the 2009 Western Conference Finals to the Nuggets, 121-63. Before you get your calculators out, allow me, carry the 1, add 2, divide by the square root, and add pi exponentially. That's a 58-point deficit, which is the widest margin in any playoff game ever. And this record was cooked up and served to the Hornets courtesy of Carmelo Anthony, who absolutely torched them to the tune of 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in that game. My man didn't even play the fourth quarter, and he was helped out by Chauncey Billups and J.R. Smith, who both scored 17 and 12 points respectively to kill any hopes of a New Orleans comeback and seal the series win 4-1 for the Nuggets. And do you remember who was on that New Orleans team? Good old Cliff Cone Paul. How did the Hornets even deliver a performance that bad, bruh? You'll have to watch the game to see for yourself. Or just ask the St. Louis Hawks from the 1956 Western Division semifinals, because they managed to do the same exact thing. Yeah, we're bringing it back to the 50s, back in the era of plumbers, the Minnesota Lakers, and the St. Louis Hawks. They lost the opening game of the semifinals 133-75 to the then Minneapolis Lakers, the same 58-point deficit that Chris Paul would later tie against Carmelo. The only difference is the Hawks still came back to win the series in Game 3, but not before writing their names in this embarrassing book of records. And y'all old heads may not remember the stars of the 1950s in the NBA, but now you know not all the titles the Lakers won were in Los Angeles. And now for the final and most embarrassing and disturbing of all records. Most final losses without a ring. Gotta say, for all the legends who have played tons of games, put up great numbers, and just could never win the big one, ending your career ringless is a tough pill to swallow. In every sport, there's countless Hall of Famers who are never able to win the championship but are recognized as one of the best in the game. But this NBA superstar took this to the next level. In his 14 playing seasons in the NBA, Elgin Baylor was always known as the complete player. He could shoot, was a strong rebounder, was an accomplished passer, and had deadly trademark hanging jump shot. His trophy cabinet was never empty either, as he was the NBA Rookie of the Year at 59, 11-time All-Star, 10-time member of the All-NBA First Team, amongst other individual honors. The only reason this guy didn't get an MVP was because he played in the same era as Wilt and Bill Russell. But the most important honor he never got, elusive NBA championship. Of course, Bill Russell was busy winning them all in those days. Of course, Baylor won't be the first Hall of Famer to not get a championship ring during his playing days, but what makes Baylor's case embarrassing is he always came so close. During his years with the Minneapolis and later Los Angeles Lakers, he played in 8 NBA Finals and somehow never won a single one. The Celtics simply had the Lakers' number in that era, and losing 8 isn't the problem. To be fair, even LeBron's lost 6 out of 10. But losing 8 finals and never winning a single ring is just sad. And to make it worse, Baylor called it a day on his career early in 1971 and 1972, only for the Lakers to go on and win the championship that same year. Damn, man, that's what pain's gotta really feel like.